What is going on, Diablo 2 fans? Dobrunsky here, and today I'm going to be breaking down my Season 2 Project Diablo 2 Fire Druid. Before I do that though, I need to give a huge shout out to everyone from the community that made this build video possible. I've had a lot of very generous gear donations and some super hard to obtain items that were just given for the purpose of making this character and to showcase the video. So I do really appreciate each and every one of you. You know who you are, so thank you so much for making this build video possible. Now with that being said, I do think that the Fire Druid is an undervalued character, but it does require some very expensive gear to be close to the other top tier builds for farming, in my opinion. But like all of my previous build videos, timestamps will be in the description below, so if you guys want to bounce back and forth between specific segments of the video, they're there for you guys to use, so please take advantage of them. And also a quick reminder, I do stream twice a week on Twitch. That is where I've been streaming the progression of this Fire Druid. So if you guys enjoy my YouTube content, you can maybe stop by one of my live streams. Link for my channels, of course, in the description below. Any follows would be very much appreciated. But guys, I really hope you enjoy this video. Let's jump in. So there's a few key points that I want to briefly touch on before I jump into the specifics of this build. The first is, why am I not using Infinity on my Mercenary? Infinity is not quite as good in Project Diablo 2 as it is in Lord of Destruction. It's still a nice rune word that will boost my damage. It's one of the few ways to bring monsters below 0 resistance, but I already have a ton of Pierce with my character, and half of my damage is fire and half of it is physical. So I took the approach of using amp damage to boost my physical portion, because I have enough Pierce from the rest of my gear to bring everything down to 0. So minus 36 resistance with a Infinity Aura in PD2 versus using amp to bring monsters down to 0 Phys Res, I felt like was a better approach for my particular setup. The second point that I want to touch on is, why am I not using the rune word Phoenix? Now, Ravenlore or Phoenix are top tier items / rumors to use for Fire Druid in Lord of Destruction, but since facets and minus resistance on your gear does not bring a monster below 0 in Project Diablo 2, the minus res on Phoenix is overkill because I already have about 50 Pierce from the 11 facets that I have on my Fire Druid. So I felt like it made more sense to go with Gurk Sanctuary that has 2 open sockets for additional fire facets for more plus fire damage, $1 skills, and then additional block rate, versus the insane amount of minus fire resistance and Redemption Aura. It just felt like it was a better choice based on Project Diablo 2 mechanics instead of Lord of Destruction build mechanics. So the third and final point is, why am I using an Act 1 Mercenary? This may seem very backwards, but I want to try and complement people when I'm playing PD2. I'm playing mostly in groups as opposed to solo, so if I already have a Conviction Paladin or an Infinity Mercenary on one of my teammates, I can then support that Mercenary with either low resistance procs with Pus Spitter or amp damage procs with the Rumored Wrath, depending on the rest of the people that are in the team. So if there's a lot of casters, I'll go with Pus Spitter for low resistance, more elemental damage. If there's a lot of melee characters on the team, I'll go for Wrath and then amp damage source and then boosting their damage. So it's just a nice way of kind of complementing team gameplay and then also giving my Fire Druid the Meditation Aura, so I never have to worry about using mana pots. So for the attribute distribution for this Fire Druid, I decided to go max block. I feel like it's a better use of your attribute points instead of going max vitality because of the huge vitality nerf in respect to, or in comparison to, Lord of Destruction. I think it's just a better use of your attribute points. I have 137 for strength, that's enough to equip my gear. It's actually 133, but I have a couple extra small charms that give me +2 to strength. So I wanted to invest extra points to include those charms in case I switch the inventory around a little bit down the road. Dexterity is just enough to get max block, which happens to be 204 with my particular gear. Energy, nothing, and then I put all my remaining points in vitality, which is 1,267 prior to Battle Orders and Oak Sage, which I think brings me up to around just over 1,800. And then for my resistance, I have 75 fire, 75 cold, 75 lightning, and then 52 poison. So I would like to try and get the poison up to 75. There is some crazy tier 3 maps that have insane poison damage, so maybe switching out my pair of boots or getting a couple poison res plus life small charms will bring that up a little bit down the road. For the skill point investment, I have nothing invested into shapeshifting. We're all pure caster, so anything here is a waste of skill points. For summoning, I have 1 hard point into Raven, 1 hard point into Heart of Wolverine, 1 into Summon Spirit Wolf, 1 into Summon Direwolf, and then I have 1 into Summon Grizzly. Grizzly is an amazing kind of meat shield. You just cast him on top of ranged attackers and they'll focus on him instead of you, so it really does help prevent you absorbing a shit ton of damage from ranged in some of the tier maps. And then I have 1 hard point into Heart of Wolverine, 1 hard point into Spirit of Barbs, And then I have all of my remaining points were put into Oak Sage for more plus life after I completely maxed out the elemental skill tree and then had enough points into Gust to get a 0.5 second cooldown teleport duration. So just showing you the elemental tree. Again, 1 hard point in Arctic Blast, 1 into Cyclone Armor, and then I have 29 for 0.7 cooldown duration. And with Battle Command on the offhand with CTA, that'll bring that down to 0.5 seconds. That's really nice for repositioning my Mercenary, which is pretty important when you want to maximize the efficiency of the amp damage procs from the Act 1 Merc, because they have a lot different AI than the Act 2 or Act 5 Merc. They don't kind of like dive into the fight. They sort of stick back and attack from range. So if you're not repositioning them, they'll always be miles behind. They'll always be miles behind you. So basically, you'll be killing everything before she gets a chance to proc amplify damage. And then for the fire spells here, I just have 1 into Firestorm, and then a completely maxed Molten Boulder, maxed Fissure, maxed Volcano, and then maxed Armageddon. So you can see for Volcano, 3,500 to 4,000 fire damage. That's each individual kind of Molten Boulder shooting up for the Volcano. So it's a lot more damage than what you would think. And then 2,300 to 2,380 for physical damage. And then Armageddon is 3,500 to 4,000 physical damage, 7,000 to 7,700 fire damage with 2,500 average fire damage per second. So there's a lot going on. You'll see in the gameplay when you tele-stop monsters, the Act 1 Mercenary procs amp, and then all of the meteor showers coming down from Armageddon, plus all the boulders flying everywhere from Volcano. A lot of people joke about the Popcorn Druid or the amount of animations that's on the screen, but it is a lot of damage that adds up. And then every single monster, except for fire immunes, will be at 0 fire res from all the Pierce that I have, and then amp damage, bringing their physical res down to 0, again boosting the physical portion of all the fire spells. So it is a lot of damage when you add everything together. So for the gear for this druid, it is definitely very cool, super optimized. It's probably not perfect, but it's pretty close. Again, feel free to let me know in the comment section below if you guys agree or disagree with the gear choices. Just keep in mind that with all of the gear that I have enough Fire Pierce to bring everything down to 0, so Ravenlore or Phoenix won't actually be beneficial. Just keep that in mind before you let me know if you completely disagree with what I've chosen. But for the weapon, I have a 4 elemental skills, 4 open socket, 4 fire faceted Earthshaker. The body armor is a 28 all res Viper Magi with 2 open sockets, with again 2 fire facets. So ideally 2 to all skills, 2 open sockets, or a 3 open socket Viper Magi would be perfect. I have a 2 open socket Gurk's Sanctuary with again 2 more fire facets. I have a poison res Corrupted Maras. Then I have a 5 to Volcano, 20 to life, 10 lightning res Cannot Be Frozen, blue Antler Pelt with 2 open sockets and 2 perfect 5/5 facets. Then I have 2 plain Wisp Projector Rings, a plain Arachnid's Mesh, so down the road we'll try and get corrupted versions for these 2 rings and belts. Then I have faster block rate Mage Fist, because again this is a max block character. And then I have additional corrupted life Alder's Boots, so these give me 89 to life. On the offhand, I have a 5/4 CTA with a 2 to all skills corrupted Ethereal Lidless. Being F doesn't matter because I'm just using on the offhand. I never lose any durability. And then for the inventory, I have a full, just all these Grand Charms are elemental skill plus life. Then I have a Druid Torch and an Anti-Charm. And then I have different assorted resistance and plus life or faster run walk or plus life res small charms, just to make sure that my res is completely capped. And then I have the strength requirements and everything for my gear. So solid inventory of very hard to achieve items, which gives me a level 49 Volcano and 45 Armageddon when I'm fully buffed up with CTA. And then wrapping everything up with the Mercenary Gear here, the priority with my Merc is that she attacks fast. She's not slowed down from any cold damage, and then she's a source of proccing either amp damage or low resistance, depending on the weapon that she's using. So starting off with the boots, I have 10 Curse Duration Corrupted Inferno Strides. There might be better boots, but just additional maximum fire res and reducing the Curse Duration, I think it helps keep her alive. I have a 3 open socket Hell Shaft Stop. It's perfect 30% DR. I don't actually need the rune, or excuse me, I don't need the Hell rune anymore for her to reach the strength requirement for this body armor. So I think down the road I might optimize the sockets a little bit better, but for now that's going to have to work. I have a 14 DR String of Ears, so again, that gives my Mercenary a lot of damage reduction, 44 between the body armor and the belt. For the helmet, just Endurials. It's just a Ral Endurials, so increase attack speed, lifesteal per hit, and then a Ral rune to get rid of that negative fire res penalty. Then I have 3 to all attributes corrupted Drax gloves, so yeah, more lifesteal per hit and increase attack speed. Then the weapon is the rumored Wrath. A lot of you guys are going to freak out, say it's a waste of a Burr rune, but Pull Lum Burmal, 30% chance to cast level 18 amplify damage on striking, and then this is a cold mercenary from Act 1, so we get the meditation aura, never have to worry about potting. She has cannot be frozen, a lot of increased attack speed, 44% DR, and then I just telestomp around with Gust, and she is a source of amp damage, so it just helps boost the physical portion of my spells. And then again, depending on who I'm playing with, if I'm playing with a lot of caster characters, I will swap that weapon out with Pus Spitter for the 18% chance to cast level 16 low resistance on striking. So I just go back and forth between the two depending on the rest of my teammates that I have for the map that I'm playing. So the last thing that I want to do is show off some gameplay. I'm going to do a tier 2 Blood Moon map. This is actually a pretty solid map, 133 density, 179 MF, and gold find, and there's no like crazy fire absorbs, so should be a pretty solid map. And of course I'm not going to clear the full thing, but I do want to give you guys kind of an idea of everything that's involved in running this character. So extra fast right at the start of the video. Good way to get started. Okay, so Mercenaries proc amp damage, have Armageddon, and we just cast Volcano everywhere. Pretty sure I'm completely buffed. That was pretty quick. So I just telestomp with Gust, and then kind of try and hang back a little bit so that Armageddon is still doing damage, but it's kind of tough because a huge portion of your damage comes from Armageddon. So you can telestomp some stuff, but you don't necessarily want to like completely have yourself getting nuked, taking tons of damage. So max block, try and stay within close range to have Armageddon be pretty effective. I do try and hang back a little bit, but you'll see the Mercenary like constantly procs amp damage. For all of you that think Wrath was the biggest waste of a Burr rune, I think it's a really solid choice for this character. The solo tier 2 map. Crazy Antler Pelt maybe? Hey, red. So if I ever run into issues where there's not really a lot of ranged in Blood Moon, but just to kind of showcase, say if that was ranged, my bear was down here, I'll just cast the bear right on top of them. It's a good way of trying to like use him as a meat shield. But again, always just using Gust, telestomp, and reposition. Hopefully get that amp and proc. I think we're pretty unlucky there. Usually it procs pretty quickly, but that was a pretty bad showcase. But that's all that there really is to this build. You can use Molten Boulder intermittently between volcanoes. I'm not really a big fan of that. I kind of like the sort of lazy AFK style gameplay, but you could switch around and spam Molten Boulder in between if you wanted to. One kind of important point to note is that anything higher than 68 FCR, if you plan on primarily just using Volcano, in my opinion is a waste because of a little bit of the cooldown on casting Volcano. If you want to spam Molten Boulder in between, you might want to shoot for a 99 FCR breakpoint. Because this is just a 68 FCR breakpoint build, but just to kind of show you an example, I'm not really set up to run it, but you can spam Molten Boulder. Just not a big fan of it. Amp damage does proc pretty frequently, and then, I mean, everything goes down. You guys saw the map, the mods on this map. Now, it's not quite like Trap Sync Clear Speed, but I think it's pretty solid, and there's always the option of, again, switching that weapon on my Mercenary if I want to kind of support my teammates more, if they're more elemental based. Or of course, amp damage is good for physical, so really just try and be a good team player. And then I can also switch around the spirit that I'm using. I didn't really mention that, but I do have... So I have a level 21 Oak Sage that gives me 265 life. I can use Heart of the Wolverine that adds 139% damage bonus to the team. So really, depending on the two that I feel like using, like if there's a lot of melee characters, I can always switch out my summon as well. But there's a really good example of just that bear just face tanking everything. Everything's focused on him. Then I kind of just sit back, do my work with Volcanoes and Armageddon. That's about all there is I'm really going to showcase for this build, guys. I'm not going to clear the whole map. It'll take me 20 minutes probably. Again, we're definitely not the fastest clearing tier 3 build, but nonetheless, I think it's a really fun character to play. Might be a little sore on the eyes, but definitely does a lot of damage, and I would not be able to make this video or this character possible if not for all the generous community donations. So thank you to everyone who made this crazy fire druid possible. Well guys, there you have it. That wraps up today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Again, feel free to let me know in the comment section below if you guys like this character, you dislike it, you would change the gear in any way, or if there's any other fire druids on the ladder, let me know what you think about the build in general. But as always, if you guys could throw a like on this video, share it, and even consider subscribing if you're new to my channel. I post new weekly content on YouTube and I stream twice a week on Twitch. So I follow on Twitch, and a sub on YouTube would be amazing. Other than that, guys, hope you have a fan-frickin-tastic day, and I'll catch you on my next video or live stream. Peace out.